We want to look at this question from the WSPS model, where we're given that the markup of good prices over marginal cost is 5%, and we're given the weight setting equation. The first part asks us to express the weight setting and the price setting equation in terms of the real wage. So let's start with the WS equation. So for WS equation in terms of real wage, we keep in mind real wage is nominal wage divided by price level. Now the WS equation is W is equal to P1 minus U, where U is the unemployment rate. So this is very straightforward. We just divide both sides by P. So we get W by P is equal to 1 minus U. So this is the WS equation in terms of the real wage. Now we'll similarly do it for the PS equation. So now let's do it for the PS equation. So for PS equation, in terms of real wage. So how do we do that? First, keep in mind, real wage is just nominal wage divided by price level. So PS equation is given to us as, PS equation will be P is equal to 1 plus MW. Because we're assuming firms charge a constant markup over marginal cost, which is the nominal wage in this case, right? So this is our assumption in this model. Where does this come from? So we assume in the WSPS model, firms charge a constant markup over marginal cost, where your marginal cost is your nominal wage. So now what you do is, so because you want to express this in terms of the real wage, let's first make W the subject. So this becomes W is equal to P by 1 plus M. Now divide both sides by P to get it in terms of the real wage, nominal wage divided by price level. So we get W by P is equal to 1 by 1 plus M. Now in this case, so this is like in general, the price setting equation. Since M is 5% in this case, so we have W by P is equal to 1 by 1 plus 5% is equal to 1 by 1.05 is equal to 0.952. So this is the price setting equation in terms of the real wage. So now that we have both the wage setting and the price setting equation in terms of the real wage, we can solve for part P, which asks us to find the natural rate of unemployment in this labor market. We know in the WSPS model, the natural rate of unemployment occurs at the intersection of the WS and the PS curve. So UN occurs at intersection of WS and PS, i.e. where WS is equal to PS. And we know from part A that the WS in terms of real wages equal to 1 minus U, and the PS in terms of real wages W by P is equal to 0.95. So setting both equal. So when we set both equal, so we get 1 minus U is equal to 0.952. So 1 minus 0.952 is equal to U. So UN is equal to 4.76%. This is the natural rate of unemployment, which occurs at the intersection of the WS and PS curves. So the last part of this is that we want to graph our wage setting and price setting curves. Let's just do that. So we want to do this with, so when you want to graph the WSPS model, on the vertical axis, we have real wage W by P. And the horizontal axis, we have unemployment rate small u. Now we'll plot first a weight setting curve. We know our weight setting curve. So we'll first plot a WS equation, which is going to be like this. So this is our WS equation where we know the weight setting curve in terms of the real wage is just 1 minus. And I've drawn a downward sloping because as we can notice over here, there's a negative relationship between the real wage that workers demand based upon the wage setting equation and the unemployment rate. We know this is because of the bargaining power argument. That when you have a high unemployment rate, uh, firms have more options and it's harder for workers to find jobs, so their bargaining power is lower, so they demand a lower real wage, and hence the wage setting curve is downward sloping. Because keep in mind over here, the WS curve represents the real wage workers demand, and price setting curve represents the real wage firms are willing to pay given their pricing decision. So this is our WS curve, which we can see is downward sloping, and it's linear in this case. We can see over here, and because in this particular example, we can see that's a linear function of the unemployment rate. Now let's plot the price setting curve. So we know the price setting curve from part A is given to us as W by P is equal to 0.952. It's horizontal as we have a constant markup, which does not depend upon the unemployment rate, right? So we can see in our WSPS model, when we're plotting this, we plotted a weight setting curve downward sloping because of the negative relationship between unemployment rate and the real wage workers can bargain for a demand. And a price setting curve is horizontal as we have a constant markup in the middle. And over here, obviously, we have drawn a linear curve for the weight setting curve because obviously over here we can see that it's a linear function of C. So now equilibrium occurs at the intersection of where WS is equal to PS. So this is equilibrium where WS is equal to PS. And we know okay, the real wage in equilibrium is 0.952 and the natural rate of unemployment is 4.76%.